Yo, welcome back guys. In this video we're going to be learning how Higgs won the solo cash cup and finally placed without Clix. In particular we're going to be looking at his high elo games which he managed to win with 10 kills and 13. I always say if you guys are good fighters or you have a lot of games spare, then why not play high risk high reward and land at these better POIs. So Higgs here gets into an early engagement and I bet a lot of you would have tried to push this, but Higgs decides not to greed it because he's only got 100 HP but also only 6 builds. He's also got good map knowledge because he knows this guy is basically taking the toilet and he's going to go straight up onto the mountain. So Higgs doesn't want to risk this. However, his playstyle completely changes when he gets more stacked. He's obviously now got a good loadout, he's got materials, and he's got full shield. So when he makes this guy white, he basically invests 2 of his crash pads, which is quite surprising because they're obviously the rotation in this meta, and there's a chance he might not find any more. But he basically crash pads down to this guy. At this point, he doesn't know he's still quite low, so he actually takes it quite safe. He gets height and plays from above, which is one of the safest ways to attack an opponent. And I think this guy just runs out of mat, so he's able to get an easy kill. So Higgs here plays this third party really well because there's already 3 people in the fight, so there's a huge chance if he goes sort of in now that he could die himself. So what he does, he just times it perfectly, so when this opponent goes down, he then goes straight up and gets involved in the fight. So he actually takes all the loot here, so he's going to have the loot advantage on this guy and the health advantage too. So he's going into this fight with huge advantages, meaning there's a high chance he could win. So he actually gets hit quite a bit here with the sort of Stinger SMG, which is so good for bleeding through builds. So he actually just takes a bit of time to heal up. He doesn't want to take any risks here. He's on high elo, so the players are good. And what he actually does here is, again, super smart. So he throws this crash pad here, but he just uses it and then bounces within his build. So it's basically like a fake crash pad, right? So then this guy thinks he's gone. So this guy's going to go try get some loot from the opponent he killed, but Higgs is still there, and then he gets an easy kill on his opponent. So from there, Higgs decides to basically do nothing. Psychoma talks about it a lot, sort of the skill of just doing nothing in solos. It's so important because a lot of people have got sort of like ADHD and they just need to be constantly going around tagging people even though they don't need it. So he's actually got sort of 3 kills here, so he's going to be one of the best surgeons in the lobby, so he doesn't need any tags. But also he's got a really good position on the map and he's cap materials. So there's literally no need to do anything here. So Higgs basically just sits and camps. There's obviously a huge chance as well. This guy's close, so he could actually run into him and get another free kill too. So as you can see in 5th zone, he's basically still sat in a bush hiding and doing nothing until 6th zone pulls. This is actually pretty scuffed now because he's congested side and he's having to rotate with all these people. But luckily he's got the 2 fizzes, so what this means is he's able to use it and invest it to basically get ahead of all these players. He sort of spots the guy here, but luckily he boxes up. And he's going to decide to sort of box up on edge here. The reason he doesn't need to go sort of any like deeper in like these opponents over here is because he can basically, he's got fizz crush pads and he just in one rotate, even if it's a max pull, he can basically get to zone. So he's not too worried about that. But also, as you can see, he's able to refarm as well, which is really important to go into sort of endgame as stacked as possible. As you can see, he's pretty much cap mats. So here Higgs starts doing a trick I haven't seen anyone use in ages, but it's been in the game for a while. It's basically water ballooning opponents. If you don't know, it basically appears in the feed who you're water ballooning. So he's going to see this guy's 40 and this guy's Yerg. It's especially to do this in the high elo lobbies Higgs is in because he can basically see who's around him. Like this could literally be Peterbot. So if he wants to start spraying this guy and griefing him, he obviously doesn't want to do that if it's Pete. So it's quite a good trick to use. So as we said earlier, even though it's not a great zone pool for Higgs, he basically manages to get a free rotate because he's got the fizz crush pad. So he manages to get to zone for free and basically get in a good position. Obviously, if he was to go into deeper zone, like I said, he would basically, there's a chance he could get tagged and take unnecessary damage. As you can see here, Surge pops, and he's not necessarily been W keying the whole game, but he's still 1k above. So that's why he's just been sort of sat and been able to do nothing during the mid game. And basically from here in the end game, he sort of just uses his fizz and crash pads. But the important thing here that I want you guys to see is he's always making sure he's literally, look, he's the last one to go. Obviously, a lot of times, like, people will go too early. There'll be sort of like a box here, and then they'll just end up pumping you and you'll end up dying. So Higgs makes sure to, he's literally the last one to go, and zone's literally hitting him, as you can see. So he actually manages to get the majority of his eliminations from endgame, and we're about to see Higgs go crazy here. So height was actually free then, but he obviously can't play it because he's only got 50 builds. So what he does is actually uses it to basically skip a lot of the zone and save a lot of mats. So he basically builds these high ramps up and basically just jumps over zone. So that saved him a lot of materials there. And as he's going, he spots this guy get cracked. And because he needs the refresh, he's going to get straight on it, basically. So he's basically protecting himself here. He's obviously sort of in a bad position, low ground. There's a lot of people near. So he's just taking it nice and slow. And as you can see, as Storm comes in, I've said it before in previous videos, but you can basically, in endgame, use Storm to your advantage. Just basically trap these guys backside. They can have Storm on their back. They're going to panic. So this guy hits Higgs's wall, even though he's 1 HP. And Higgs manages to get an easy refresh. So as we can see now, though, he's now the one in this scuffed position. He's obviously backside and a lot of people in front of him. So he manages to do these nice tarps that you guys sort of need to practice. And then he goes up a layer as well, which is really important. Obviously, if there's a lot of people in your layer, you definitely need to get good at layer switching. And then there's this other guy. And basically, Higgs manages to get him really low, but he manages to get away. But then manages to use very good tracking using sort of visual audio and knows where he's going. And basically goes through loads of builds to basically get a refresh. So that's 2 refreshes here. And as you can see, Higgs has now got a lot more mats, and he's basically got a med mist as well if he wants to play heal off. And what should you do once you get these refreshes and you've got more mats? He then looks for height. Basically, as soon as you get these refreshes, you're probably actually going to be more in a position to win the game than height. They're going to be shambles with not a lot of mats. So he immediately looks up here, and basically what he does is going to use the Fizz crash pad to get up and basically surprise height. So as you can see, it's threats on height, and he actually manages to go above him and get him 1 HP. Unlucky, he sort of doesn't get the kill and falls down. But he now knows height's low, so he's going to go for it again here. He actually gets dropped down into another opponent's box, gets even more of a refresh. It's sort of good aim and not to panic there. So then he starts investing some mats to go up, and actually kills threats because he knows he's still low. And then he sort of manages to go back into zone to get the mats as well, so he can actually maintain height. But he obviously doesn't matter that much because he's got the med mist as well to sort of re-heal him. The good thing about these med mist is you can just use it for like 30 HP to get back full, whereas a med kit you wouldn't really want to use for 30 HP. So that is the advantage. You can take a bit of storm damage on each rotate and basically use it to get back full. So these are really good heal items. And from that box, he actually decides to tank Storm and play the med mist. He's not really aiming for a heal off here, but because he's only got 14 builds, and as you can see, the zone's really small with a lot of players still, so 14 builds isn't going to go far. So Higgs decides to just play the med mist instead. And as you can see, sort of like the surprise element of still being in Storm ends up getting him a kill here. And with this sort of like last minute refresh, he's a lot more sort of in a good position to win this game than the other people. So he just basically takes height here. And because I said all these people are fighting in a small shambles zone, a lot of them end up dying, and it's just a 1v1 there. Higgs drops down and gets the kill. So that's win number 1. So in the second game, I've skipped over sort of the early game here because it's 2 sort of like easy boring kills. Basically he manages to outdrop 2 opponents and get sort of 3 eliminations on them. So definitely sort of invest in a drop map and sort of learn glider mechanics, guys, because yeah, you can get 3 kills. So here for the sort of like first mid game kill, he's actually getting a good sneak on this opponent, but doesn't actually decide to sort of fight him here. Actually waits till he goes down, gets some distance, and then fizzes, and then basically crash pads over. And literally this season, guys, now sort of crash pad fizz is in the game. You've probably experienced it. People landing on your head. It's probably the best way to get easy kills. This guy's got no audio at all, and then basically gets easily cleaned up. So again, Higgs is basically just lurking and hiding in his POI, which is OXR. And the good thing about doing it here is this build in particular is sort of like the black market. So everyone's going to come here to buy their crash pads, which mean it can be more bait. People are going to predict people hiding in here, but this opponent doesn't. And basically just from the surprise element alone, Higgs is basically able to open this fight with 100 damage. So he's got a huge advantage on his opponent now. The opponent should have actually been dead, 150 damage. And then sort of Higgs applies good pressure by basically tracking the opponent. So now the opponent's 1 HP, he gets down on his wall, and he kind of predicts the opponent's going to panic and go for some counter damage. So he just stands there with his pump out and gets an easy kill just through lurking. So from this fight, Higgs immediately goes up onto this roof, sort of like a high point on the map, and he spots another person on OXR. So what he's going to do here is another Fizz crash pad onto his head, completely catch this guy off guard whilst he's farming. Although he doesn't get the kill this time, he does start the fight off with 50 damage. He immediately jumps on his wall on this diagonal, and it's actually the best position to attack a box because, as you can see, it makes it really awkward for this guy to, one, go for a shot, or two, sort of like try and rebox him. So he's basically actually double swinging here. And then as this guy drops down, Higgs has some basically nice exit control and fully boxes him. And then manages to get the kill. He then purposely goes back to the same roof to do the exact same play again. Basically just scouts around and then catches his next opponent, which is down here. And then again, this time, this guy doesn't know and can't react in time. And Higgs manages to get the easy kill. So close enough to the famous roof, which is up here. He's actually 2 layers down this time. But we're about to see it for the 3rd time this game, which is actually insane. So again, he spots an opponent down here, Fizz crash pads, and lands straight on his head and manages to wipe him straight out. So 3 kills just this game, and he'd done it the previous game as well. It's obviously something that's worked for him a lot. He's sort of like mastered that XR and this meta already. And yeah, sort of obviously knows how to do it really well. The fact most of us will never even get to 300 points, but Higgs is basically in the highest elo and he's still taking a fight, being aggressive, and he's already got 7 eliminations as well, which is crazy. He doesn't be too aggressive on this fight. He could obviously carried on and sort of took the 50-50, but he actually goes back and does the trick where he basically fakes the crash pad. What this does is this guy now thinks he's gone and he can Fizz crash pad away, which means he's obviously really high. And Higgs is actually quite unlucky not to get the kill here, only because he has this revolver. If he would have had an AR, this guy would have definitely been dead out the air. But it just goes to show what a good trick that is. So what happens when someone does the Higgs classic on Higgs himself? And as you can see, it's no other than our boy Richie. So obviously he's now fighting one of the sort of top tier pros, and we'll see how he sort of plays this defensive box fight. So as you can see, he immediately goes up and makes this 2x1, making a lot of space is obviously the sort of key fundamental in defensive box fighting. And as you can see here, he's just trying to pop a little bit of heals. Richie hasn't actually done a lot of damage to him here, so he's not under too much pressure. And then he goes for the sort of second fundamental in defensive box fighting, which is going for counter shots. Unfortunately, he misses here. What he does here, he sort of went up originally, and then he drops all the way down. So this sort of is going to stall time, but unfortunately, he does get hit here. So now it's obviously more of a panic to actually sort of play defensively, because he's gone from 170 HP to only 70 now. So he's a bit more under pressure. So again, he goes for a counter shot here. And then what he does is he's using his boxes. As you can see, he was sort of stood in the middle. And because Richie takes this wall, he manages to go into his other box. A lot of you sort of like make boxes, but don't actually sort of use them. So he then eventually gets counter on Richie. 2 counter shots actually. And then he's actually got more of an advantage here. But he just basically resets the fight and heals up. And then Richie knows he's probably fighting another pro because he's high elo, and then basically disengages. And basically just through sort of defensive fundamentals, Higgs manages to keep off one of the top tier pros and manages to obviously then go on to win the game as well. He's now a bit shambles from that fight. He's only got sort of 100 builds and only 50 fizz. So what do you think he's going to do? Of course, he hits the Higgs classic for the countless time in this game, lands on this poor guy's head, full boxes him and gets the kill. And as you can see from here, it's the God refresh. He has a new fizz, he has cap mats, and he has everything he needs to go on and win the game. One thing to note here is he's also really confident in his shotgun aim, and I think a big part in this is basically he plays like a really low sense. This is probably one of the lowest out of all the pros. Similar to Vico Sense actually, and everyone knows Vico's also known for hitting big pump shots. Obviously, lower sense is way less shaky and means he can basically hit more pellets in his shotgun shots. So I thought that was something worth noting. So I really want you to pay attention to Higgs's endgame rotates here because they're really clean and minimalistic. He uses sort of like minimum builds, but he's actually really safe on rotate. So the first thing he does is basically does the rapid classic where you sort of fizz and bounce off your own roofs. You get a bit of forward momentum. And then talking about momentum, he also makes sure to sort of use the ramp over the head. Obviously, what this does is this keeps up your speed because you're not fully turning around and placing walls, but it also does protect you really well. So it's something you need to definitely incorporate into your tarps. So as you can see here, he's made sort of like a 2x1, sort of like a Tyson box. We'll talk about that in a minute. And basically, he can use this ramp to sort of get refreshes. It doesn't actually pay off this time. And then we'll see for his next rotate what he does. So he basically just has this ramp over him and does a nice little crash pad rotate. And then he drops down a layer so he's more uncontested, and as you can see he has then made another Tyson box. So this is a Tyson box, guys, and it's great for getting refreshes but also saving mats. As you can see, it's quite a cheap 2x1, and you basically use this second box as basically a way to get refreshes. And as you can see in a minute, it does work because people are sort of up against this ramp not thinking anyone's there. That's the great thing about it. And then whilst they're fighting in that box, Higgs basically manages to get a free refresh, which can get him much deeper into this endgame. So where he's getting a lot of refreshes, this basically enables him to sort of claim a whole layer. He likes to sort of go front side, and as you can see, he claims this whole layer. And this also enables him, obviously, where he's got a lot of claimed builds and space, this enables him to get more refreshes as well. As you can see, he gets the guy, this guy's desperate, sort of jumps in, and now he's actually even more stacked. He's got about 72 builds, so he's probably got the most mats in this game. So as you can see, then he immediately heights on his mind. As I said in the other game, as soon as you get that refresh, start looking at height. Higgs goes straight up onto a higher layer, so he's in a bit better sort of position to take height, and he just scans again there, sees he's in wood and knows he's pretty shambles. It's braids on height, so he just basically fizzes up, so he's healthy enough to, if he goes up and gets cracked, and then braids now knows, sort of aware Higgs is going to come up, but there's nothing he can really do. Higgs is like way more healthy, got more mats, so then he does the simple sort of height take, the stare out to the side, and then the crash pad up. He sort of went to play early heal off, meaning Higgs can get height, and then from there he just plays height. He has to be quite aware because Braids is sort of in storm, but I think he doesn't have enough HP to win the heal off because he obviously took a lot of storm sickness going in so early. And then as you can see, Higgs gets his second win and goes on to win the cash cup. Obviously we were learning solos from a top tier pro, but if you wanted something more realistic to you, then click this video where I teach you how to place in solos without getting any kills. Also make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications as I've got way more content like this coming.